Sinjuri, merħba u nilqakom għar-raba edizzjoni ta' l-EPALE Awards. Dan avveniment se nkunu qed nirrikonoxxu nies li ħadmu u aktar milli ħadmu spikkaw anzi fil-qasam tat-tagħlim ta' l-adulti. Il-preżentazzjoni tal-lejla se ssir bl-Ingliż u se tixxandar fuq Facebook fuq il-paġna Adult Learning in Malta, bekk mhux biss naqsmu l-esperjenza mal-kollegi Maltin tagħna imma anki ma' kollegi minn bnadi differenti tal-Ewropa. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and good evening for the 4th edition of the EPALE Malta Adult Learning Awards in Malta, of course. My name is Kelly Peplo and I'm delighted to be your host this evening. Please allow me to give a few thanks to some very special guests. We have the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry for Education, Mr. Matthew Vella, the Assistant Director for the Directorate of Research, Lifelong Learning and Employability, Mr. Joseph Kalia, and the Education Officer for Lifelong Learning, Ms. Mandy Mifsud. May I kindly ask you to please keep your mobile phones switched off for the ceremony, but we would like to encourage you to please share the live stream on our Facebook page, Adult Learning in Malta, and use the hashtag EPALEMAS 2023. This award ceremony is an opportunity to highlight best practices in adult learning in Malta. The efforts made in adult learning and education by so many educators and learners is not always recognized, but today we're here to celebrate those adults who, by taking on new challenges in both teaching and learning, made a big difference in their own lives and within their communities. This year we have 3 awards. We have the Adult Learner in Malta Award, the Adult Educator in Malta Award, and an Innovative Adult Learning Initiative or Project in Malta. These awards are being organized by the Directorate for Lifelong Learning and Employability within the Ministry for Education, Sport, Youth, Research and Innovation, and of course, they are supported by the Electronic Platform for Adult Learning in Europe through the Erasmus Plus project, EPALE. EPALE, ladies and gentlemen, is a European multilingual open membership online community of over 130,000 adult learning professionals, including educators, trainers, guidance and support staff, researchers, academics, policymakers from 37 different countries. EPALE allows its members to share best practices and establish important partnerships across borders, while also acting as a national support service for Malta, aiming to play a key role in disseminating information about EPALE amongst adult learning stakeholders in this country. We'd also like to extend a warm welcome to our EPALE NSS colleagues and EPALE Awards external evaluators, without whom tonight's event would not have been possible. Please stand when I say your name so I can give you a hand. Ms. Daniela Ermini from EPALE NSS in Italy. Ms. Esther Caravaggi from EPALE NSS Hungary, and Mr. Georgi Skorobogatov from EPALE NSS Estonia. Welcome. To officially kick off the ceremony, I would like to invite the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Education, Sport, Youth, Research and Innovation, Mr. Matthew Vella, for his opening remarks.
Good evening, Mr. Galia, Ms. Mifsud, distinguished guests. It is an honor to be with you this evening for this special occasion. I'm glad that Malta, through our ministry, and forms part of the electronic platform for adult learning in Europe, which is funded by the European Commission. It is important that education is within the community, and EPALE has the community at heart, because it is a multilingual open membership community for teachers, trainers, researchers, academics, policymakers, and anyone else with a professional role in adult learning across Europe. EPALE shares the latest development in an ongoing commitment to improve the quality of adult learning provision in Europe. Our ministry believes that learning is a lifetime necessity. The lifelong learning approach improves the individual's quality of life, of those around them, and society at large. Therefore, to complement the work that is being done by EPALE and the Ministry for Education, in fact, our ministry will soon launch the National Lifelong Learning Strategy 2023-2030, which is a major flagship of the National Education Strategy 2030. At the core of the National Education Strategy is a social mission and function to improve the life of the most vulnerable individuals and to provide learning opportunities. Indeed, as a ministry, we are shifting completely towards the approach of having a person-centered approach. We strongly believe that we should emphasize on this approach, that we would like to have a person-centered approach. In this way, we will help all individuals to maximize their potential. The strategy is based on three main pillars: the aspect of reskilling and upskilling, the elements of having full inclusivity, and the element of emphasizing on quality. And when I'm mentioning about quality, quality that is defined, that can be measured, so we are emphasizing a lot on the elements of continuous monitoring and evaluation. Furthermore, the National Lifelong Learning Strategy is an important instrument to reach the European Union targets and the UNESCO Sustainable Development Goals. This is part and parcel of the transformation that is taking place within the Maltese educational system. The EPALE Awards acknowledge the importance of continuous education and personal development throughout one's life. I would like to share my congrats to all nominees for reaching such nomination, and I would like to wish great success in this life-wild and life-deep journey of learning. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Vella, for your opening remarks. We'd now like to move on to our keynote speaker for the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we are more than honored to have with us a very special guest from Belgium, Dr. Peter Sprangers. Dr. Sprangers is an educational designer, futurologist, scientific researcher, and co-author of several books on learning and educational reform. He holds a doctorate in scientific educational research, and as a researcher and teacher, he's associated with the University of Antwerp and AP University College. His company also advises on complex transformations in educational and governmental organizations. Dr. Sprangers, I give you the floor.
Dear Permanent Secretary, and then I'm going to use some first names. I've asked it beforehand. Dear Mandy, dear Natasha, dear Tom, dear Joseph, from the organizing committee for this special evening, but also dear all from the adult learning community of Malta, dear all from the EPALE International Learning Community, European Learning Community. Thank you very much that you invited me in to share some ideas with you. The title of my keynote will be Ignite the Passion for Learning, Creating a Supportive Learning Environment for Delightful Lifelong Learning. And I want to start with my personal mission. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it works. So I want to share my personal mission in life. How can learning be so fantastic that you never want it to ever stop? And I'm also a professor at the university, and sometimes I come into contact, almost every day I come into contact with people in their beginning of their 20s, and sometimes they tell me, Professor, I hope that I have my bachelor degree or my master degree as fast as possible, then I'm finally done with it. And then my heart bleeds. I'm so sad, because then I ask myself, what are you going to do the next 60 years of your life? How did we prepare you for a fantastic life full of passion of learning? Maybe we made some few mistakes, and that's also why adult education is so important in our society. First of all, before I'm going to share some ideas, I want to surprise you, and I just want to ask you if you could have a very, very small conversation of only 1 minute with your neighbor. There are some very nice people here in this audience, and I just ask you one question. Do you really want to share, the two of you or the three of you, it's not a problem, some ideas on this question? When was the last time you yourself took a giant leap as regards to your personal development? Really a giant leap. I don't mean recognizing one button of the microwave. That's not what I mean. A giant leap. Please talk about it. Have a very small conversation with your neighbor on this question. So I have to interrupt you. Maybe you discovered some very nice learning experiences, and of course I invite you to talk further on these learning experiences during the after party of this event. But first of all, what I want to say is that probably your learning experiences that you were sharing started. Astonishment was probably the starting point for your learning. You wanted to discover something. You wanted to open a new door. You wanted to learn something. You wanted to go in worlds where you've never been before, and probably this was the starting point. And some of you probably know this person. It's already a long time ago. It's Mr. Spock from Star Trek. And you know that Mr. Spock really doesn't have human emotions, but the word that he always used was fascinating when he was looking at human behavior. We could invite Mr. Spock in to the Maltese adult education and maybe ask, what do you find of the way in which we organize adult education nowadays? I come from Belgium, from Flanders, and we also have some very strange things happening in adult education, and probably Mr. Spock would always tell us, fascinating the way you do this, fascinating the way you deal with learning for adults. And some of the ideas I'm going to share in the next 30 minutes come from the book I wrote, Edu Shock. It was really a shocking book in Belgium and in the Netherlands, because I made a shocking future view on how education could look like in the future, and also how adult education could look like in the future. One of the first ideas I developed in the book was to turn all schools into lighthouses of knowledge. I predicted the end of what we call nowadays a school. We also had adult schools in Belgium. Nowadays we don't have adult schools anymore. Now we only have, I forgot to, ooh la la, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to push the buttons. We're here already. I'm sorry. We have to turn the schools into lighthouses of knowledge. And nowadays in Belgium, we don't have schools for adult education. We only have centers for adult education. And this is very important to know, because for me, these centers are open 24 hours on 24 hours. You can learn in a formal way to get a degree or a certificate, but you can also learn over there in a completely informal way. Grandfathers can learn there together with their grandchildren. Intergenerational learning is possible over there. Libraries are part of these lighthouses of knowledge, and they are so extremely attractive that every one of the local community wants to be part of it. This is what I call the lighthouses of knowledge, and this has nothing to do with what we call a school. Schools are often very closed. You have to learn in classrooms. This is not what adult learners want. I also have to say that learning is, of course, not the same as education. There is a difference between learning and education, but when the learning takes place in a school, or in an adult center of education, when it takes place in a school, then it is, of course, then we have a unique position, because schools can be places where you can practice in democracy, and there are also places for experimentation, and let's hope also for safe experimentation. And that's not always so easy in a complex and a volatile society. Learning is also oxygen. You can learn via criminal activities. I don't advise you to do so, but you can learn everywhere in society and not only in schools. Learning means going to places you don't know yet and you haven't been before. But learning is also a way in which we change our mental conceptual structure, and we do this in interaction with the world. And learning is very important because it also means transfer of our cultural capital from one generation to another generation. That we can transfer traditions and practices from one generation to another one. I live part of the year in Sweden, and one of my Swedish neighbors is very much worried about some very important traditional techniques that are probably going to disappear in our society. And I wrote the example over there. It's the example of the smoke tunnel. And the smoke tunnel is needed to smoke salmon, and you cannot find it on the internet. You need intergenerational ways of learning in order to know how you have to build a smoke tunnel. But of course we also learn in a functional way, for instance for job reasons, because we need a degree. We also need, we learn to access a job, we learn to acquire knowledge and skills, and maybe the most important part, we also learn because of subjectification. And this means being able to stand freely and responsibly in the world. Who am I? Who do I want to be in this world? And how can I contribute in this world? And that's also why we learn. But of course we also have tech giants, and they say you don't need degrees anymore. It's the end of the degrees. You don't need a diploma anymore. Come to our company and you can learn in our company. Of course you also can have learning activities in companies, but that's not what I mean. What I also have to say is that lifelong learning, and I want to share some idea with you, that this is, I think this is a new literacy dimension. Is literacy a necessary condition for achieving lifelong learning, or has lifelong learning maybe become itself a literary dimension? A literary dimension is not only about being able to read and to write and to calculate, and the newest literacy dimension is digital literacy, but I think there is another literacy dimension, lifelong learning, knowing how you can learn in a lifelong way, how you can keep on learning until the age of 96 years old. And this is what you see. Are you still literate if you are no longer committed to lifelong learning, or do you become maybe obsolete? Do you wake up in a society you don't understand anymore? That's the concept of obsolescence. So maybe lifelong learning is even a dimension of active aging. But lifelong learning, of course, is not a punishment. The word lifelong for some people maybe means that it is a punishment like going to the prison, lifelong imprisonment. Lifelong learning means that you can start with something you are already good at, that can be the starting point, and it doesn't matter what you want to learn and in which worlds you want to go. And it's very important that we express our appreciation for people to learn. And that's why I find this initiative so beautiful, that you appreciate initiatives for adult learning, and that you even make it a ceremony, and that there are nominees, and that it is some kind of contest. And that people are proud of learning nowadays. You can also see it on social media. This is only an example of an adult learner who is so proud of achieving a new step in his of her or her learning career, that they want to share it on social media, and that they are very proud of it. This is new. People are sharing their learning steps that they are putting in their learning career. And even universities are thinking now of expanding their learning pathways to lifelong learning pathways. And what does this mean in a very concrete way? That maybe in the future, 6 years of higher education study spread over a lifetime, rather than 4 years of study between the age of 19 and 22 years old. We have to think of learning as a muscle that must be trained for life. And this means that in the future, when it comes to me, that higher education will be a lifelong subscription and not 4-year focus to get a bachelor or a master degree. We have to stimulate this learning, and I want to share some ideas on how we can stimulate the learning in our society and also in the Maltese society. And the first one, when it comes up to the tech giants again, then maybe you probably have seen this already before. Microsoft is already trying to influence us. When you have Outlook, Microsoft sometimes tells us that you should plan in your Outlook agenda a learning moment. So even the tech giants are now involved in lifelong learning, trying to motivate you to plan in a time slot for learning. But that's not what I wanted to say. The most important part, and this comes from science and from our scientific research, is the human factor. We need support. We need the relational component of learning. And I learned this a few years ago in a research project that I was part of. It was a research project in prisons in Belgium. And we wanted to research why it is so incredibly hard to learn and to educate yourself in the context of a prison. You could say, oh, but you have all the time. You have time enough to learn. Why don't you learn? Why don't you study now? You have more than 10 years to study in prison. But we discovered that the most important factor is that you lack of support. There is no one interested in your learning. And only a human guard can make the difference. And that's the human guard that enters your cell and asks you every day, what are you going to learn? How are you going to do this? Did you already subscribe for that course? I'm coming back into your cell tomorrow and I'm going to ask you if you took already an initiative. So we need this human support for learning. This is very important. And I want to share a small example in the countryside of India where Professor Sugata Mitra, it's already an old example, put the first computers in a hole in the wall. And in this village, no one had ever seen before a computer. And there were no schools, no teachers. And as you can imagine, the first ones who want to discover this new machine, a computer, are of course the children. Why? Because they learn starting from astonishment and curiosity. But when you want to know what was the most differentiating factor in their learning, it was not a teacher, because there are no schools, there are no teachers. And you cannot see it on this picture, but behind these children, we have a lot of grannies, grandmothers, because the parents are working on the field. And it is the grandmothers that make the difference, because they are constantly supporting, challenging, and constantly interacting with the children, asking questions. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Can you do it again? Whoa, this is difficult. Why do you do this? So this is what Sugata Mitra calls the granny cloud. And the granny cloud is very important. We have to ask ourselves, also in the Maltese society, how we can organize a granny cloud for every citizen to have meaningful conversations and meaningful talks about learning. And this support is needed for everyone. We need meaningful conversations. And for some people, it can be your partner at home, but there are also vulnerable people in our society who don't have this support, and for them it's extremely hard to come to learning. Of course, from science, we also know that we need challenges as a starting point for learning, that we need some basic competencies, that we need some literacy, and that we as adult learners also want to make choices ourselves in our learning career. But the support, this relational component, is very important. And we also see this in the professional context. Research in job contexts shows that people who learn in a job context find the most useful collaborative ways of learning, let's say, social ways of learning, but also on the second place, manager support. People want their bosses, their managers, to support them in their learning career. So the question that we have to ask ourselves also in a Maltese society is, how do we fill in that support? How can we guarantee that every citizen in Malta has a learning relationship and meaningful conversations about learning with someone else of this society? And that can be a partner at home, that can be teachers, that can be prison guards. Everyone can start with these meaningful conversations about learning. And this is a special case in Flanders. Of course, you don't need to see the details, but we went to a very small local community in Flanders, and this local community is called Kasterlee. And in this local community, the politicians were asking themselves, do we have a responsibility in the learning of our citizens? Because we only focus on compulsory education, on the learning of, let's say, 2.5 years until 18 years old, but do we also have a responsibility for other learners in our society? And we did a research project in this small local community together with the politicians, but with hundreds of stakeholders, and we came to the conclusion that we could design more than 15 scenarios for stimulating and developing learning from the cradle to the grave, from being born until you die. And this is very important also for local communities to be learning, stimulating, and learning supportive. And maybe your local community can even become what's nowadays called a learning city, a UNESCO learning city. This is a quite new initiative. There are not so many cities in the world who already have the title of UNESCO Global Learning City, but let's invite all cities in the world to become a UNESCO learning city, which means that everyone in this local community takes up responsibility for the learning from the cradle to the grave. And we also need welcoming and engaging learning infrastructure, which means that when we, as a government, build buildings in our local communities, it can be a sports hall, it can be cultural infrastructure, that in the project definition, before we build this infrastructure, that we also have to think of, can we make this infrastructure, and we even have to give this advice to the architect designing the building, can we make this public infrastructure more learning stimulating? It can be a showroom for local stories, for local history, for societal evolutions, and this infrastructure can also be used for raising awareness on socially relevant issues. And I also invite politicians and policymakers to insert in the future a learning paragraph in every new field in which policymakers want to make transitions in society. This can be on e-government, this can be on sustainability, this can be on diverse sensitivity in societies. When we want our citizens to make a transition in a society, then we as policymakers have to think of how are we going to guide and to support our citizens in the learning that is needed to make this transition in society. This is what I call the learning paragraph in every new policy that we want to develop in our society. And we also have to make the learning more visible in our society. Here you can see examples of centers of adult education in Flanders. They go on markets, they go to events to make the learning of their centers of adult education more visible. The learning can not only happen in classrooms within a school building with closed doors. We have to go inside the society to show that the learning is happening. And we can also do, of course, we can also embrace the city as a learning laboratory. Instead of building new school buildings, we can learn within the society. Language courses can take place on all kinds of places in our society. This means that we consciously have to engage in learning and that we need to have meaningful dialogues about learning. You can do that, of course, also in the after party tonight. And a question that you can ask your neighbor in the after party is, who inspires you in your personal learning process? Who is for you a learning hero? Who do you have a learning relationship with? And what type of learning relationship do you have with this person? These are very important questions to have a meaningful conversation on learning with an other adult learner. And you see that you can have different types of learning relationships with other adults. That can be a relationship of feedback, it can be one of advising, coaching, but it can also be a stretch relationship. This means that the other person is going to bring you to new worlds and is going to open doors to places where you've never been before. But it can also be a learning relationship of emotional support. Think of the prison guard who is interested in someone in a cell. We even develop tools for that to map personal learning networks and to make it more visible and to reflect more on who do you have a learning relationship with. And this type of tools are very interesting. This is also an interesting one. This is research we did together with the University of Antwerp and my company Domo de Fontiro to have more insights on the learning competencies of adult learners. You could use this website yourself. It's a scientifically validated questionnaire. When you fill it in, you get feedback on your own learning as an adult learner. This is very important to make the learning more visible for yourself and to get to know which type of learning activities suit you better than other types of learning initiatives. And of course, we also have to embrace the splendor of the diversity in forms of learning. In adult education, we can not only have the traditional type of classroom learning. We need other ways of learning, internships. We need sometimes also digital ways of learning, but I have to warn you, because some of these digital ways of learning we already discovered in science that they are not so powerful. For instance, more than 15 years ago, we were all talking about MOOCs, massive open online courses, and now in science we know that the learning effectivity of this type of learning is quite low. A lot of people start a MOOC, but there are not so many people who really end a MOOC, and this is important. So we have to be critical about all these ways of learning, but we have to embrace all the ways of learning also in centers for adult education, and not only limit ourselves to traditional types of classroom learning. And also the European Association for Education of Adults also addresses some challenges to us, challenges that can be tackled via adult education. And I'm very much interested in the 9 nominees of tonight, because maybe some of these nominees are already tackling some of these challenges in adult education via very good projects and via very good initiatives. These are the challenges that we can help to tackle, to hack via adult education in society. And to conclude, I also want to talk about removing some blockers in society. There are also blockers that prevent adult learners from learning. And I want to share some ideas on this one too. We really have to demolish barriers in society. And one of the barriers is that sometimes in our centers of adult education, that we only practice very traditional ways of learning that are not so good adapted to the people we are working with, the adult learnings we are working with. For instance, people having negative learning experiences from the past, and that's also why it's so important to have ways of learning without exams, micro-credentialings, and to have delightful learner experiences also for adult learners. And this also means in our school buildings that we really have to make centers for adult education in which people can meet before they go to the classroom, because people will also want to meet other people. They are involved in social ways of learning. So this means that we also need a small cafeteria or a restaurant where people can already come 1 hour before the classes start apart and can meet other people. It's a little bit like the folk high schools in Scandinavia. And it's completely the opposite of what I call in Flanders, and this is a picture that you see, the Bokrijkscholen. We have a small village in Flanders, Bokrijk, and there you can still see the type of schools we had 150 years ago. And what we sometimes discover is that they are still the same in our society. We don't want this type of classrooms for adult learners. Adult learners want to be actively engaged in learning. They want to learn in society, and they also want diversity in learning ways. And what I also have to say in Flanders is that also public transport companies have a responsibility in adult learning. In Flanders, this is really a very big problem, our public transportation. But the public transportation in Flanders also means that people cannot have in the evening classes because they don't get home anymore. So public transportation companies also have a responsibility in adult learning in the society. Yeah? Also what we have to admit is, at least in Flanders, I don't know the situation in Malta, but that we made the learning landscape for adult learners in Flanders extremely complex, which means that even professors and even teachers don't understand this learning landscape anymore, and that we now even need professionals like learning ambassadors and learning coaches to guide adult learners because they don't find their way in this adult learning landscape. So even guidance is needed through learning shops in Flanders, learning ambassadors and learning coaches. And this is then a very good example. It's in Limerick in Ireland, where also volunteers and professional learning ambassadors help adult learners in society have meaningful conversations with them and guide them throughout all the possible types of learning initiatives for adult learners in society. Yeah? What I also have to say is that it's not only about the individual dimension of learning. Of course, we know the individual dimension of learning, which happens in classrooms, but from the point of view of science, I have to say that the more effective way of learning is the collaborative way of learning. And that's why nowadays we organize communities of practice or professional learning communities. And we can organize these professional learning communities on the job floor, but we can also organize them in other places of the society. And of course, you don't have to know the details, but we know nowadays from research what are the necessary conditions for people to learn in a very effective way in teams, in professional learning communities. And that's what we call the communities of practice. And I wrote a book about this, communities of practice, or these professional learning communities. It's called the book Team School. It's about learning communities, creating learning communities in society. And we're also constantly making in our team of educational designers all types of tools. And these tools are very important for local communities, for centers of adult education, but also for HR services in companies, to think about what conditions do we have to create to make the learning for our adult learners possible. So these are the conditions coming out of science. We call them design a supportive learning environment for your team. And I already shared a lot of these ideas, like for instance, support for every learner in your company or every learner in your society. These are the things coming out of research and scientific research that we know that have an impact on the learning of adult learners. Yeah? And I want to conclude with a quite new initiative in Flanders. The OECD made some profiles of adult learners in Flanders. And the OECD told us that we have 9 profiles of adult learners in a society in Flanders. And we're now I have to go back with one, yeah. That we have now started a research project at the Flemish government to focus on profile 1 and 2. And those types are the most difficult to reach learners, adult learners in society. Profile 1 are the ones completely disengaged from learning. They don't even know that they have a learning need, and they become obsolete in our complex society. And type 2 are the ones unmotivated due to age and health obstacles. And they are very difficult to reach in society, and that's why we are developing all types of tools to reach out to these difficult to reach type of learners in society. And they are very easy tools. They are placement tools that we developed to start the meaningful conversations with people who even don't know that they have a learning need in society. So we want to address them, we want to start talking with them, and we want to guide them to throughout all the learning initiatives we have in society for adult learners. But therefore we need this type of tools to start these conversations. These tools are very suitable for learning ambassadors and also for people giving learning guidance in society. To end with, I also want to bring a message of creativity. We need a lot of creativity in adult education in order to reach all the adult learners in our society. This is my campus of my university in Antwerp. I'm the only professor in Antwerp. I never teach in a public campus of my university. I even told my rector I don't need a campus. Those buildings are too expensive. I go into the society to empty spaces. I go into nightclubs, I go in shopping malls, I go wherever in a society where I have an empty space, and I design together with my student, they are also adult learners, I design all types of learning environments in the society. And there are some pictures here, so I don't need a campus, a university campus anymore. Yeah? And sometimes in COVID times, we also went outside in ways of outdoor learning, and I was the only professor in Flanders still teaching in a live manner, because all my other colleagues were teaching in Teams and in online learning environments, and all the students were becoming very sad. And I also saw sad students, and then I asked them, what do you want to do? Yes, we want to learn together with you in a live way. And then I told them, okay, let's go outdoors. And then I started weeks of outdoor learning, and we could beat all the COVID measures in that times. We even didn't need Teams and all the online learning environments. And here you see some other pictures of shopping environments, shopping malls, nightclubs in Antwerp, where we are organizing all types of learning activities. We also need innovation within the classroom. We cannot put adult learners for more than 3 hours on chairs. This is not good for your body. So we also start with initiatives like learning while moving. Every 15 minutes we have with adult learning movement mixes to make the body move, because we cannot sit too long on the chairs. I want to conclude with some final conclusions and some final remarks. And these to wrap up everything what I told the last 30 minutes. We have to make learning discussable in society. Everyone needs someone to have a meaningful learning relationship with in society. We need a granny cloud for everyone. We need learning ambassadors, learning shops, educational system designers. We need humane prison guards. We need everyone to have conversations about learning, because otherwise the learning is not going to happen. We know this from science. We also have to value all forms of learning, not only utilitarian forms of learning guiding you to a job. There are many other ways. We also need to transfer cultural capital from one generation to another generation, and we cannot do this only with job trainings. We have to encourage also self-regulation on what and how you want to learn in this society. We have to give choices. Adult learners have to make choices themselves. We have to encourage curiosity and break through superficiality. And this curiosity, you already saw it via very innovative initiatives, and I hope the 9 nominees will also give examples for innovative initiatives in adult learning in the society in Malta. We have to make university and college education models lifelong learning proof, with a lifelong learning subscription and not focused on 4 years to get a bachelor or a master degree. We have to radically simplify the complexity of the learning landscape, and we have to go to the essence. And we have to stimulate more research on lifelong learning and not only on compulsory education. What does matter, because adult learners also need other types of approaches to learn. And do not treat centers for adult education as the Cinderellas in our society. We also see it in Flanders. All the money goes to compulsory education, and then when we have a little bit of money, then we give it to adult education. But this is so important in society. This helps us to conquer the complexity of the society we are living in. And we have to organize lifelong learning based on impact thinking. This is also very important. I want to conclude with this quote. Let's all discuss learning. Let's all dialogue about it and support each other and challenge each other to achieve lifelong learning full of passion. And I hope you enjoy the rest of this very important Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sprangers. That was a very interesting presentation. I'm sure a lot of us could relate. So moving on with our ceremony for the evening, I would like to invite Mr. Joseph Gallia, who is the Assistant Director at the Directorate for Research, Lifelong Learning and Employability, Ms. Mandy Mifsud, Education Officer for Lifelong Learning, and Ms. Daniela Ermini from NSS Italy, to the stage to present the certificates and awards for the first category. The first category we're celebrating tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is the Adult Learner Award. This celebrates some of the many remarkable individuals who have taken a bold step in the realm of education, defying age and personal circumstance. This award recognizes the efforts they have shown for self-improvement and personal development, proving to all of us that age does not really matter after all. And it's never too late to embrace the path of continuous learning. Without further ado, let's all turn our attention to the screens and meet our 3 finalists.
Hi, I'm Fiorentina Darminia Jochimsen. I'm a senior lecturer at the Institute of Tourism Studies and the freelance tourist guide. I'm a mother, a wife, a caregiver, a female rights advocate, and a dedicated student. I find that the beauty of life is that there's always something new to learn. Through the various challenges I have encountered throughout my lifelong journey, I have identified that my past studies leading me on to my present pursuit in my PhD in business management have not solely been an academic venture, but a reflection of my belief of the transformative power in education. I find that my past studies leading me up to my PhD are not solely academic ventures, but a reflection of my belief in the transformative power of education. I find that my studies keep me sane and my mind active. I strive to display that learning, in my case definitely lifelong, is in all its forms essential for an accomplished and empowered life.
My name is Jean-Paul Mutombo Matalayan. I am from the Republic Democratic of Congo, and I am a Salesian priest. It happened that I was assigned to work here in Malta. And as a priest, I needed the language. So with the help of my superior, I find out this school, lifelong learning, where I start learning Maltese. And my need was to be able to read Maltese in a short time so I could celebrate Mass. And with the help of the school, that happened, and today I can read Mass in Maltese. That was my point, and I am grateful for what the school did for me in that sense that I am now able to celebrate Mass in Maltese. And I encourage all of you, foreigners in Malta, if you need language, you can come here at Life Learning, Long Learning School to do the same experience as I had.
Nervis Grek, għandi 40, jena nilab il-poċi, u dak bejtin kejna daba ġimma. Umbat nifakal li bejna ġewi barrani għawa ma tal-lamna kelleċin tulmin. Laf ma barranin u kol, ġejna bit-single ġejna bronze u big-group ġejna twi u kol. Għallu li biex nilab Berlin u meta għallu li nilab Berlin għattiwa. Jena meta labt barra Berlin u bat ġejt bil-single ġejt bronze u bil-dabi ġejna gold. Minu jibra sport, għanejlu li jibra sport, għax il-sport huwa sabiħ u li talem li ma trox tissi. Issa, minu jisipari għabel kont nisjafna, ma konċ inkemmen. Issa tal-limt li ma nix nisi xej, nisi ftejt imma mux daqs kont għabel. Jien namel indu li ċentri kolla biex huma wkoll biex jitagħmlu sport li jobu huma, akka biex ċentri biex ikunu sport li jobu huma u biex jilagħbu l-sport biex jgħinu huma kalihom stess pani li jagħmlu lob pari.
Outstanding work, and I would now like to announce the final ranking for this award. Our second runner-up is Father Jean-Paul Mutombo Matala, who is a Salesian of Don Bosco. He has achieved fluency in Maltese within a remarkably short time. His language journey began in October of 2022, and he was confidently reading, writing, and communicating in Maltese by May of this year. This enabled him to celebrate Mass in Maltese daily within his community and during the Salesians' summer activities. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us, so his nominator and Maltese language educator, Miss Daniela Mifsud, is here to represent him. Our second runner-up, Nevis Grek, who attends one of Agencia Support's day centers. Nevis has always had a deep love for sports, and during the Special Olympics World Games in Berlin during June of 2020, she secured a gold medal in the Unified Partners category and a bronze medal in the singles category. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, the award for Adult Educator in Malta goes to Fiorentina Darmenia Joachimsen, a senior lecturer at the Institute for Tourism Studies, the ITS. Now, balancing work and family could have deterred many, but Fiorentina remains resolute in her journey as a learner. Besides working on her PhD in business administration, she is actively championing women's rights and taking care of very close relatives who have health issues. Congratulations, Ms. Daniela Joachimsen, who couldn't join us today due to work commitments abroad, but instead we do have her nominator, Dr. Andreas Hübner, who would like to say a few words on her behalf. Yes, say a few words on her behalf, yes? Of course.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I, Dr. Andreas Hübner, German advocate, nominated Dr. Res B. Fiorentina Jochimsen for her lifelong learning dedication. I'm here to receive in her stead the recognition the Directorate has awarded her with. To explain her absence and her gratitude, I would like to transmit Fiorentina's words. Also, I stand by my commitment to my second year PhD in Business Administration. It is with deep regret that I'm required to attend my university in Bosnia and Herzegovina exactly during this period. My absence here today is in body, but certainly not in heart and spirit. Lifelong learning has been a lifelong pursuit, where my love for learning has always been an integral part of my life. And even in my major age, it remains a vital tool for keeping my mind active, engaged and sane, particularly in the face of the various challenges that come with my continued mental and professional growth and with life in general. I firmly believe that learning and self-improvement have no age limit. However, one of the aspects which puts me to most in stress is my competitive craving for my consistent achievement in the highest grades in all I take on. Regardless of these and the challenges of juggling my responsibilities as a full-time lecturer, a wife, a mother of 2 sons, as well as caring for my 85-year-old mother and my brother with multiple sclerosis, I'm committed to my academic development. Unfortunately, I have had to put my planned summer 2023 research on hold due to my mother's serious health condition. My first priority is in supporting my family, especially in critical times. I would like to add that I always strive to be an inspiration to my post-secondary students and to demonstrate my passion of learning. I try to bring out and display that it's never too late to embark on a journey of knowledge and personal growth. Whilst thanking EPALE for the development of this prestigious award, I congratulate all lifelong learners, not only those here, but also all others who did not have the opportunity to participate here today, but are equally struggling in the balance between responsibilities and dedication to development. After all, I'm sure we can all agree that one of the beauties of life is that there is always something new to learn. Thank you very much.
Thank you there, Dr. Hübner. Thank you, Ms. Daniela Ermini. We're now moving on to our second category. I would like to invite Mr. Skorobogatov from NSS Estonia to join us on stage and to present the second award. Ladies and gentlemen, our second category this evening is the Adult Educator Award. Great educators dedicate themselves to guiding and inspiring adult learners. This award recognizes their unwavering commitment to nurturing those who have chosen to embark on educational journeys later on in their life. Through their passion, they create environments where curiosity is celebrated and learning is shared, reminding us all that education has no limit. Without any further ado, let's turn our attention to the screens once again and meet our next 3 finalists.
I am a lecturer at the Institute for Education. During the past years, I worked as a PhD and guidance teacher. PhD is a subject where we focus on the personal and social and career development of the students. I was also a guidance teacher, and I was the president of the Malta PhD Association. My area of expertise is holistic education, person-centered holistic education. Recent research is showing us that neurologically, when we focus on the entire person, on the holistic person, we help the person to develop not only academically, but also social, physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual. So it's important to focus on this holistic aspect. My message that I would like to convey is that we all become reflective practitioners. So we all focus and reflect on what we actually do and how we educate, and reflect on whether we are focusing on this holistic education, whether we are focusing on this element of educating the entire and the whole person.
Hello, my name is Diana Gomez. I am a Spanish adult educator within the lifelong learning in the Ministry of Education, and I am very proud of being nominated for this award. In my Spanish lessons, apart from the formal learning, I try to involve different activities so students get inspired, get motivated to continue with the study of Spanish. In my lessons, I do offer tapas competition, different skills, different activities, so students can get motivated and inspired to continue with the learning of Spanish, which is my main aim. I am very passionate about my job, and I really want students to get passionate and to continue learning Spanish. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Guadalupe Melo. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be one of the nominees for the EPALE Award and be now part of the finalists. Good luck and congrats to all my colleagues and the rest of the nominees. Being here is thanks to the effort of many. I believe in education as a multi-directional process. The support of the coordinators, the passion of the learners for learning, and the support of the teachers make this process as a real learning and teaching process full of experiences. And Directorate for Lifelong Learning make it possible. As an adult educator, I can say that this is a good experience for all of us. Every year is different, every time is different, the methodology changes, but we have to keep in mind that sharing experiences are giving a positive experience for learners.
Let's have another round of applause for our nominees there. And we're ready to hear the final ranking for this category. Our second runner-up is Guadalupe Melo. Her journey in adult education began in 2013 when she joined the Directorate for Lifelong Learning through the Grundtvig Assistantship Program by Erasmus+. She spent over a decade teaching Spanish across various educational levels, from primary to post-secondary, including adult education. Our second runner-up is Diana Gomez. Diana has been an educator of the Spanish language within the Directorate for Research, Lifelong Learning and Employability in Malta for 10 years. Her holistic approach to teaching involves cultural aspects, gamification and social activities, making her lessons engaging and comprehensive. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the Adult Educator Award goes to Dr. Amanda Bezzina. Dr. Bezzina is a qualified teacher specializing in personal, social, career development and is a full-time lecturer at the Institute for Education. Despite experiencing personal adversity, Dr. Bezzina channeled her experiences into transformative initiatives such as the Be Well campaign, targeting holistic well-being. If you don't mind, Dr. Bezzina, I'd like you to say a few words after you've had your photo taken.
I'm very happy about this. I would like to first start EPALE and the Directorate for Lifelong Learning for making all this possible. I would like to really thank Ms. Joanne Grima, that lady there, who supports me, who supports all of us in our work. Basically, we have a dream. We approach her and she says, yes, yes, we go for it. And there it starts. Not only Joanne, a team of great colleagues in administration and lecturing, who we all support each other. I would like to thank my family, my husband and my 3 daughters, who share their time with my passion, my projects, and my beliefs. I am a firm believer in holistic education. I come from the background of PSCD, Personal and Social Care Development. It's a subject, as I explained in the video, in Malta, it's statutory. And we focus on holistic skills. We focus, Father Alfred Darmanin used to call them savoir, savoir-être, and savoir-faire. The knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. And I think that is education, that is holistic education. It's not traditional education, but it is educating the entire person. It's not education for employability. It's not education for statistics, but it's education for well-being. And then, yes, a person is employable. We have good ranking, but first we need to address the well-being of the learners, of all learners. So I am a firm believer in holistic education for well-being, for the social, physical, intellectual, vocational, and emotional well-being. I believe that we should facilitate education based on empowerment and student voice. They are the future generation, and we need to have a healthy society. Healthy society means being able to discuss, being able to know oneself, being able to have meaningful relationships, being able to accept failure as well, being able to elicit their potential. Why? Because it matters for them. When education is appealing and relevant, then it becomes meaningful and individuals appreciate more its essence. In my work, I try to adopt this person-centered pedagogy. Since I strongly believe in this, I work hard to encourage my colleagues who work in education to understand its importance. This inspires me to organize training to educators about different topics based on current needs. These 2 years at the Institute for Education focused on emotional literacy, and the Be Well campaign. As you can see, a focus on well-being and on the person-centered holistic development. So we trained educators as well. In this training journey, I try to include as many stakeholders as possible: policymakers, educators, teachers, students, and community members. We all rely on each other, and so we need to listen to each other's concerns, thoughts, feelings, frustrations. We need to share positive and negative experiences. Then we can empathize and understand each other. And then we can implement policies that represent the voice of all stakeholders. I take this opportunity to encourage all of us to work hand in hand so as to help our learners to flourish in their capabilities and to create an education based on positive experiences. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bezzina. I'd like to invite Miss Esther Caravaggio from EPALE NSS Hungary to the stage so we can present the certificates and awards to the nominees for our final award for the evening. Our final award this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is the Innovative Adult Learning Initiative or Project in Malta. The award recognizes projects which are very much in tune with today's constant shifts in the adult education landscape and those which aim to reach a specific target group in society to make sure no one is left behind. These visionary projects have opened doors to education for adults, breaking barriers to learning. Let's turn our attention to the screens once again and let's get to know our finalists.
Jena Matthew Caruana minn Junior Achievement Malta u l-programm li qed nitkellem dwaru llum huwa programm ta' tarif dwar kif timmaneġġja l-flus, kif tiħħandilja u tieħu deċiżjonijiet kif għandek tmexxi l-flus tiegħek. Aħna ħassejna li dan huwa bżonn importanti għax qed jiżdiedu l-problemi li n-nies qed jiffaċċjaw fl-aspett finanzjarju. Dan ma jfissirx li qed jiġi kreat minħabba in-nies mhux qed jaqalgħu biżżejjed flus, għalkemm hemm min mhux qed jaqla biżżejjed flus, imma hemm oħrajn li qed jaqalgħu biżżejjed flus imma minħabba deċiżjonijiet ħżiena jew minħabba vizzi ħżiena li għandhom ta' kif jimmaneġġjaw il-flus jaffaċċjaw problemi. Għalhekk aħna ttekiljajna nies differenti minn aspetti differenti u kulturi differenti biex inkunu nistgħu ngħinu fuq din il-problema.
Hi, it's Dr. Sabina Juska-Burdan from FIDEM Foundation. At FIDEM, we believe in educating and empowering women and children, particularly from underprivileged situations. Through our Educate to Empower program, we have seen and experienced that many women out there are on the basis of illiteracy, whether in the English sector or computer sector, and so we decided to come up with the Skill Up program. And this is why I am here today being nominated for the Skill Up program that is being run on a 12-month period, educating and empowering over 20 women whilst providing babysitting services for the children, transport services for free, therefore taking away any barrier for them to access their education.
My name is Stephen Bezzina, and I am the Director at B&P Emerging Technologies Consultancy Lab Limited. The Digital Skills for the Artificial Intelligence Revolution project, or the DS4R in short, is a learning initiative for adults which aims at upskilling and reskilling adults in the digital era. The project itself is a collaborative endeavor between a number of key stakeholders in adult education, including chambers of commerce, learning institutions, and businesses. The DS4R project can be found online at digitalskills.ai. It comprises a 12-hour free, self-paced online course, which covers all the material that you need in order to be prepared for the AI revolution. As from the start of the project, that is in August 2022, we have already enrolled more than 1,100 adults on our platform and given more than 800 certifications. So, are you ready to join the digital skills revolution in the age of the artificial intelligence? See you on digitalskills.ai.
Degree for this evening. Round of applause for them, please. The awards are as follows. Second runner-up, Stephen Bezzina and Professor Alexei Dingley for the Digital Skills for the Artificial Intelligence Revolution project. This project, ladies and gentlemen, created a high-quality digital learning environment which is accessible to all of us through a 12-hour self-paced training program. This covers essential digital skills in the age of AI we are living in today. Over 1,110 adults have already registered on the platform, and more than 800 certifications have been issued, affirming their competence in key areas. Our second runner-up, ladies and gentlemen, is Matthew Caruana for the Junior Achievement Young Enterprise Malta's Future Skills High Impact Project. Mr. Caruana is the CEO for JA Malta, and this initiative has already reached around 4,000 adults with free money management training that fosters financial literacy among people of diverse backgrounds and life stages. Congratulations. Finally, the award goes to Dr. Sabine Ajus-Kaburdan for the Skill Up program. Dr. Sabine is the founder of FIDEM, who this evening is representing the Skill Up program sponsored by Atlas Insurance PLC. The program is specifically designed to empower women who need extra support and covers English proficiency, self-defense training, ICDL certification, mindfulness, dance, drama, and a variety of soft skills too. The program goes the extra mile by providing free transportation and childcare facilities, eliminating potential barriers in the participation of women in the workforce and in lifelong learning. Sabine, I would like you to say a few words about your project.
Wow, thank you so much. I was cringing as I watched myself there. That was appalling. I'm really sorry. I hope to be better over here. I had a really long day that day, and it really shows, and I was juggling between 2 million things, as one does, but I'll try and make up for it over here. So firstly, thank you to the EPALE Directorate, thank you to the Ministry of Education, thank you all for being here. Most importantly, thank you to Judith Valletta, who is my all at FIDEM Foundation, and Cristabel Bonici, who always follows every dream I have. Thank you to my family, my husband, my kids. And thank you to the Lord for giving me the strength and energy to juggle between 2.1 million things at one go, being a property lawyer, commercial lawyer, taking care of my elderly parents, my children, O levels, trying to keep fit, nutrition, and last but not least, the underprivileged, which gives me the greatest satisfaction out of everything I do. So 5 years ago, when FIDEM Foundation was at the birth, we started with this very fundamental principle of educating and empowering underprivileged people who, for some reason or another, couldn't get themselves a better education. We're all in here, I'm sure, with degrees of some sorts. We're not all born lawyers, accountants. So I believe in the fundamental human right of education, whatever educational path you aspire to achieve. Many women out there were coming to us from domestic abusive environments, and we realized that one of the key elements is them having to remain in this abusive relationship because of their lack of financial dependency, lack of financial independency. And the main thing that we discovered was one fundamental key: education. There are many women out there, and men, but obviously the women are the ones that come to us. So our main target is our service users come from are women who come from underprivileged situations. And we realized along the years how many women don't even know how to string a sentence in English, read a sentence in English, put on a computer, put off a computer. So this is why we then set up the Skill Up program, because such basic fundamental things that we take for granted day to day, just opening a magazine, reading a book, going onto our laptops and reading, a lot of women out there and children are deprived of such basic educational needs. So every Saturday, after the 5 years of FIDEM, realizing what a lack of educational tools, a lack of educational barriers there are for these women to go and further their studies, we set up Skill Up. So every Saturday morning from 9 till 1, we have a group of 25 women who are learning skills, soft skills, from drama, to self-defense, to kickboxing, nutrition, cooking, and at the same time, they are learning English and computer literacy. Next June, they'll be awarded an MQ4 level in computing and in English, which is an equivalent to an O level, and this will be the greatest achievement because it will give them the stepping stone for them to further either their educational path or to come and carry on in some sort of career, because we have women coming from fire engine backgrounds, we have women who do nail technician courses. Today, I'm very proud to say we have about 5-6 university graduates also, who have been with us from the beginning of FEDEM. So we have people at ITS in management. We have a woman who just graduated in family solidarity at the University of Malta. We also have an ACCA student who came to us. We partnered up with PwC, and today she's a fully fledged accountant. So we have a plethora of different educational backgrounds, nail technicians, hairdressers, accountants, the works, because we believe it's not everyone is born, as I said, a lawyer, an accountant. We just want to empower women, whatever it is. And when we do this, we do it holistically. We offer psychological support, psychiatric support, therapy, everything. So we give them a holistic package to make sure that we follow them through the whole journey and make a positive change in their lives. I thank you so much, and I'm very excited. Thank you for this.
Congratulations to all our finalists, our winners this evening. Before we conclude this evening, I would first like to stop Mr. Gallia from taking his seat, actually, because I'd like you to give your closing remarks. Mr. Gallia is the Assistant Director at the Directorate for Research, Lifelong Learning and Employability at the Ministry for Education. Please give him a very warm round of applause.
Thank you, dear esteemed colleagues, guests with us here tonight, and those who have joined us on the live stream. On behalf of EPALE Malta team, the Directorate, the Ministry of Education, I congratulate all the finalists and winners, and thank all of the nominees for this award this year. Occasions such as this are a source of inspiration to us. To quote our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Sprangers tonight, we would like to ignite or reignite, in some cases, the passion for learning by acknowledging those who make a part of supporting learning environment where many actors converge. Through the honorees and distinguished adult learners, educators, and the innovative projects that were mentioned here today, we have seen what can be achieved and transformed through genuine belief in the power of adult education. Their stories resonate with the vision of the Directorate, the same that it holds for a society where learning is accessible and is beneficial to all of us. Learning which goes beyond the traditional classroom learning path and aims to improve adult learners' preparedness for the future, as well as igniting or reigniting the dignity and the will to learn. As we depart from this uplifting ceremony, let us continue to strive, innovate, and make a lasting impact on the lives of individuals and the community at large through the transformative force of lifelong learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph Gallia, our Assistant Director. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just about to wrap up our evening. Those of you who joined our live stream, thank you very much for being with us, and we very much hope to see you again at the next EPALE Malta Education Awards. Thank you and good night. For reception and network a little bit, say hello to each other just outside our venue. Thank you very much.